Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 7. Today is the day when we can finally start upgrading our fleet of vehicles. We will research the necessary technologies to start the process, and we will also manage to find the settlement that will sell the glass required to get the ball rolling. We will also set up a small sour water stripping operation, but since the refinery will lay dormant until the local oil deposit runs dry, we won't get much use out of it. Still, it will be good to have it around once we need it. We will also do some small improvements around the island, like connecting things with belts, so we can slowly lower the amount of jobs our trucks need to do. Oh yeah, and we will also finish upgrading the ship, so we can better defend ourselves if we ever run into pirates on the world map again. The new power plant is almost ready, and we only need to set the last remaining storage to the appropriate settings, and we can leave it alone. These extra conveyor belts are really helping things running smoothly around the factory district. But there is room for improvement, and we will add in a couple more of these later in the episode. And we have 140 iron plates for the ship upgrade. We still have some ways to go. Next, we had a notification that the sand mine ran out of places to dig up. Let's give it some more to work with. The good thing about sand is that even if we dig it without ramps, the material has such low cohesion, that it always gives us a shallow enough wall that it allows vehicles to drive on it. Still, it's better to dig it with ramps, especially around the edges, just to be sure. By the way, did you notice that the intro scenes were a bit more dynamic than usual? The developers added some extra camera tools to the free cam mode. It's like they read my mind. We are almost ready to start converting the fuel gas into diesel. To be honest, it's not really necessary. It wouldn't be a big problem to leave the harvest in the farms if we have no room elsewhere. Still, it's a source of fuel, so might as well. Now, we are already building the next set of farms to keep the people fed, but I see no reason to stop here. But, to make room, we should move a couple things. The brickworks, for example, that's in the way. A bit closer to the mines and the factories would be a better place for it anyway, so it's good that we had an excuse to move it. The vehicle assembly was also blocking the site. But, we are really close to the next tier of vehicles anyway, so I'll just leave it, and then demolish it when we can build the upgraded version. Nice, we are halfway done with the iron plate deliveries. Won't be long now before we can start sailing again. I mean, we can still find exploration nodes without pirates, but repairing the ship is expensive, so let's try to be safe about it. Anyways, the amount of rubber used in the factories managed to catch up to our current rate of production. To tide us over, I did tell the existing rubber maker plant to use Unity for increased production, but we really need to build a proper setup near the refinery. Instead of one plant, I decided to build two. Although once we start using sulfur in the process, the amount of rubber made will increase quite a bit, but it never hurts to plan for the future. What should we do with the wastewater? We have a liquid dump nearby, working for the water distillery. I suppose we could use that. It dumps very little brine, and we have enough capacity left to deal with the rubber maker waste. That should do it. Doesn't seem to block anything important. All we need now is a place to store the finished rubber, and it's good to go. And I've been waiting for this. The sour water dump got blocked by the terraforming. No matter, we can just move it, and continue with the job. And we just got past the 40% mark in the oil wells. I think we should be able to deplete the deposit in maybe 2 or 3 episodes. We seem to be struggling with copper. Yeah, no wonder. The slag storage is full again. I really don't know what to make of this. Even though the vehicle logistics network is stable according to the icon on the top left, there are still jobs that are simply not taken care of fast enough. The first step to help the situation will be the next tier of vehicles. The trucks will be able to carry more, and the excavators will be able to dig more with a single scoop. Upgrading everything will be a big boost. Plus, we just managed to free up enough space for 2 more farms, so might as well place them. And would you look at that? The ship just got upgraded with some armor and weaponry. We can finally start hunting some pirates. We are still going to get damaged, but at least we only need to repair once per encounter. Well, at least until we run into some of the stronger enemies. We can deal with the weaker foes, but there are bigger fish out there. Next, since we have the upgraded vehicle assembly, we need to sort out the parts for it. Same as with the construction parts, vehicle parts also use the previous tier as a material for the next one. And we will also need access to steel and glass. We already have steel, but lack the glass. That's where the trading dock comes in again. We used it to get bricks a while back. Now we will use it to get glass. And while I was talking, the flagship managed to defeat that pirate we ran into earlier. And as luck would have it, we also found some corn seeds at that site, so once we research it, we can start planting the new crop. It will be very useful for making ethanol, mostly to make hand sanitizers for the hospital. But that's for later. And we just discovered sulfur processing. That unlocked the sour water stripper, as well as the ability to make acid in the mixer. Acid will be especially important. We can use it to increase the efficiency of the copper electrolyzers, so we can eliminate any wastage. Also, we had a bit of a fuel scare in the coal mine. It was time to add a couple more trucks to the fuel station to cope with the demand. Time to start looking for that settlement that sells glass. And I swear it was blind luck, but the very next node we will unlock is the one we needed. Okay, the amount of dirt piling up at the coal mine is concerning. Of course, we have a pretty big layer of the stuff sitting on the actual deposit, so it will inevitably fall into the pit, but it's still a bit annoying. We don't really have the capacity to deal with the amount we mine, so later on, I will enable dirt dumping at the shoreline. Speaking of, we have very little space left to dump stuff, so we should expand it. We could use this little bay for this. And we just found the settlement we needed. These people will be willing to sell us glass, in exchange for Tier 3 construction parts. We have plenty of that, thankfully. And while I wasn't looking, we managed to use up all the fuel gas to make some extra diesel. I guess it was used up instantly for refueling, since the output tank is also empty. And at this point, the dirt falling into the coal mining pit is really starting to become a problem. I was really close to enabling dumping of the stuff at this point. Okay, the rubber issues are sorted at the electronics factories, but now we are lacking copper. We have plenty of raw materials, but the slag storage is severely backed up. I think it's time to set those to one step higher on the priority list. I'm really perplexed by this. The truck network is showing as stable, and the storages are set to be emptied out completely, and we have space to dump it. And yet, trucks are really reluctant to do the job. But with the new priority, it should be done before anything else now. And I think it's time to actually start moving materials to the Tier 2 vehicle parts factory. The sooner we start upgrading, the better. Well, even though we are not really making too much sour water these days, I think we should set up the stripping plan anyways. Once the ball gets rolling, it would be best to have it ready to go. It needs sour water of course, plus some high pressure steam. On the output side, we will get some water, some ammonia, and sulfur. We can take care of the sour water input right here. We just need a balancer, so we can prioritize feeding the plant, and only dump the excess. Although, in hindsight, maybe I should have included a storage tank too. No big deal, we can just add one later, but it would be best to have one as a buffer. Next, we needed the steam. Fortunately for us, we had a steady supply of it coming in from the refinery, so we can just keep that line going over the sour water pipes. Now, the clean water. I think it would be best if it was fed back into the refinery to be boiled into steam again. And for that, we have a small feature we can take advantage of. Normally, if a pipe goes over another, it automatically creates a small step up to jump over the other one. This happens even if the pipe is already up on the highest level. So, even though the medium oil pipes in the refinery are already on the highest level, we can still jump over them using this feature. The space was a bit cramped though, so it took me a bit of fiddling to put the pipe in place, but it will work out eventually. Alright. We just need to feed that water back into the boilers through that pipe balancer we built earlier, give it the priority, and it's good to go. Only the two other outputs are left. Sulfur, and ammonia. For now, we are just going to store them both, but we don't want the system to get plugged up, so I also added in some overflow prevention in the forms of a burner for sulfur, and a flare for ammonia. That's the sulfur done. Priority goes to the storage. The rest will be burned away. But once we start using the stuff in other industrial processes, I doubt that burner will see much action. And that's the ammonia. Same concept, first goes to the tank, and only burn it once that's full. Since the refinery is dormant, we won't see much action on this part of the island, but it will get really busy once we run out of local oil. At this point, I was ready to start trading for glass, but I forgot that they only offer this trade if we increase our reputation with them. To achieve that, we need to gift them a shipment of Tier 2 construction parts. Well, easy enough, we just need to load it into the ship, and deliver it. Also, in the meantime, the slag got cleared out of the refinery outputs. And yet, copper production is still not enough. I think it's time to build another set of smelters. And then, we can also deal with the raw copper deliveries. For now, I hooked the electrolyzers up to the existing rain harvesters, but I kind of knew that they won't be enough for long. We can however hook the furnaces up to the aggregate belts. Since we only really had access to Tier 1 vehicles parts right now, I ordered 2 more excavators. We can just upgrade them once the new parts are rolling off the assembly line. Speaking of, we had the gifts loaded, so the ship was sent out to deliver it. Once they like us more, we can start buying glass. And once again, we are lacking the workforce needed to keep things going. The settlement is getting pretty big at this point, so I might start upgrading the districts soon, instead of building new ones. Once again, the trucks tell me that they are stable, but the copper just isn't being delivered to the smelting setup. I don't really follow the patch notes, so I don't know if the tracker was updated recently, but it doesn't seem to show the real state of the vehicles in this episode. Anyways, time to buy the first batch of glass, so we can start making better vehicles. Here, I decided to upgrade the Tier 1 construction factories, so we could build the new districts a bit faster. I didn't consider that by doing this, they will be knocked down to the bottom of the level 10 priority list. They are kind of important, so I gave them level 9 priority instead. Basically, there is a sort of priority system inside the individual priority levels too. Among all the buildings that have, let's say, level 10 as a priority, they will decide which ones get to receive workers and power by build order. Older ones are higher priority. Upgrading those factories meant that they were suddenly brand new constructions, so they were lower on the pecking order among other level 10 buildings. Now, this ramp got blocked by the pipe going over it. I thought by building the pipe on the highest level, we would leave enough headroom, but apparently not. At first I thought it was the pillar in the middle, but no, it really was the issue with the height. Fortunately for us, we have one more tile free under the ramp, so we can just use that to route the pipe. There. Trucks have access to everything again. And we have Tier 2 vehicle parts. Time to start upgrading. Instead of building new ones, and then decommissioning the old ones, we can now tell individual trucks to go upgrade themselves once a new one is finished building in the assembly. It is a neat way of handling vehicle upgrades, but I didn't have time to delve deeper into this new system. For now, I only managed to do this by selecting every individual truck, and setting them to be upgraded. Using the upgrade tool did nothing, and I didn't see an option to mass upgrade older models in the vehicle manager either. Anyways, with the new assembly being this close to the factories, I thought it would be helpful to connect them up. Unlike the Tier 1 assembly, the Tier 2 building actually has some input ports we can use for this. And there. We have the first Tier 2 delivery vehicle active on the island. They can carry a lot more stuff, which should be a big boost. Yeah, the amount of dirt in the coal mine is now actively sabotaging our extraction efforts. Time to do something about it. Sadly, there is no other way to deal with it, except dumping, and making bricks. Time to enable the usage of dirt in our terraforming efforts. And while I was there, I also enabled the dumping of compost. Once dumped, it will magically turn itself into dirt. We have some piling up at the biofuel plant, so we need to get rid of it to not clog up the system. Hey, look! We have a minuscule amount of ammonia and sulfur in the storages. Not enough to do anything with them, but that will change later. I was really tempted to belt the sulfur over to the rubber makers, since those guys can use it as a more efficient, less polluting way of making the stuff, but as I've said, we are not making nearly enough right now, so I didn't bother. Anyways, as you can see, I had to individually select trucks to set them to be upgraded. The upgrade tool didn't seem to interact with them, and the logistics window had no option to do it either. It will be a bit of a hassle to do it this way, but at least we only need to do it once. We can also get started on upgrading the mining vehicles. First, I told the trucks to do it, but later, I will also get started on the excavators. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Trucks are stable, and yet, the copper isn't getting delivered. Time to take matters into my own hand. Thankfully, the mine is pretty close to the smelters, so we can just belt the stuff over from one to the other. There. This Tier 2 belt should be able to move the copper in big enough quantities to satisfy all 4 furnaces. And off it goes. To be honest, I only really care about dumping rock and slag at the very edges of the shoreline, so it's as close to vertical as possible. I suppose we could just pull the dumping designations back by one, and disable dirt when we are 1 tile away from the final line. Nice. The potato storages are close to being full. The vegetables are still struggling, but that should also be on the upwards trend now. Okay, the copper managed to arrive at the furnaces. The next bottleneck are the belts in the actual facility, but that one only needs some love from the upgrade tool. Good. The copper should start backing up on the furnace inputs any second. Yep, it's fully saturated. Just the way it's supposed to be. The next thing hindering copper production is the lack of water in the electrolyzers. Just as suspected, 4 rain harvesters are not enough, since we need about 2 per building. Right now, we have only 1 for each. I will build more once they are completely empty, but they still have a bit to work with. It seems things are improving. We have copper on the electronics input belts again. Oh yeah. Look at that upward line. The water will soon run out, but it's getting better. And we just found our second damaged cargo ship. We don't need it at the moment, but we will later. I'm not sure I like the looks of those gaps in the incoming raw copper line. At full speed, I fear the furnaces would need more coming in. And the rain harvesters are empty at this point. Time to double them up, so we can make plates at full speed. Unfortunately, the trees are still in the way behind the existing ones, so we need to find some other place for them. This one looks okay, I guess. With this, we have two separate water inputs from two directions, so I guess we can split them between the 4 electrolyzers. We should still build the pipes high enough for trucks to pass under them. They can go around, but why make their lives worse? And that should take care of everything. The setup now has enough water coming in for the electrolysis, so it's all up to the mining outputs. Some of the trucks are already upgraded. Good. It's a bit slow, but I suspect I will build more factories in the next episode to speed things up a little. And I also told the excavators to upgrade themselves when given the chance. Having tier 2 versions of each will increase the overall output of the mining operations tremendously. I was flirting with the idea of upgrading one of the districts to level 2. Later, I will give in to those temptations. Do we really need a conveyor belt between the limestone mine and the concrete plant? Not really. They are so close together, that if I was worried about the throughput, I could just tell the tower to treat the concrete drop-off storage as a mining storage too. And that pirate ship was guarding a second oil rig. We don't need it for quite a while, but I bet it will come in handy later. I suppose we could just send that lone excavator to the copper mine. It's still set to be upgraded eventually, so it will get done sooner or later. It seems research got halted. It seems we cannot rely on the truck stability indicator at the moment. So, how about we build some more belts around the factories to help them out? We could start by moving some electronics to the lab equipment factory. I still wanted to adhere to the other factory arrays, so I lowered the height of the belt once it turned toward the destination. Okay, that should take care of the research. And we should continue exploring. There are still stuff out there we can use. And this is where I gave in, and upgraded the first settlement district to level 2. I think we can start building up, instead of out. Nice. We have neat little apartment buildings now. They are still not the final ones, of course, but it's a start. Well, since we are belting the electronics, how about we do the same for the mechanical components too? That is a bit messy, but I was getting real close to the end of the recording, so I didn't really bother with it looking pretty. We can just change it if it keeps bothering us. Nice, we found a sulfur mine. I bet it will see some use later on. You know what? We need electronics and mechanical parts at the Tier 1 vehicles parts factory too. I see no reason not to belt them in. Normally, I would belt the first material on level 1, but the mechanical parts are in the middle warehouse. If we ever decided to bring in iron plates via conveyors, then it would be best to leave level 1 free, so I used level 2 for it instead. And since the electronics were in the third warehouse, I used level 3 for it. Nice. The trucks don't need to do these deliveries anymore. And I think this is all we have time for. Now that I look at the belts, I think it could see some improvements, to be honest. Sure, having them run in parallel gives the illusion of organization, but I think it could be better. Instead of just slapping the belts onto the side as we go along, we could set up a proper minibus, and do a neat, universal method of connecting things to it. Right now, it's a bit of a mess. Speaking of that minibus, I've been building a bit haphazardly around the island. I didn't really consider leaving space for that eventual island-wide main bus. Might be worth making sure we actually set a strip of land aside for it, and mark it somehow, so we don't build over it. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, then leaving a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. If you are more in the donating mood, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description, where you can buy me a glass of water. I don't really drink coffee. Thank you for your support, and until next time, I will see you later.